I'm Richard Turner, and I'm recognized as the top card mechanic in the world, and I'm totally blind. I was born and raised in San Diego, California. I got my interest in cards at 7 years old, watching old Westerns. There was always a card scene where somebody is dealing cards and somebody else gets caught for cheating.
Hold it, mister.
The fact that there was a way that that person was able to manipulate the cards to where they came out ahead just stimulated my brain cells to go, how can I do that? But then my life changed direction. When I was 9 years old, about 1963, I woke up and my throat was blistering. I had blisters across my back, and it turned out I had scarlet fever. It caused the macula, which is the center part of the eye, to dissolve overnight. I'm literally sitting in my 4th grade class. I'm looking down at my math book. The words that a moment ago were clear were now a blur. After my sight started going south, the kids started picking on me. One of the kids literally jumped on my back, drove me to the ground. He kicked me in the ribs. And then all the other kids start circling around, laughing at me while they're going, yeah, get him, get him. One of my favorite shows on TV at that time was a show called The Green Hornet, starring Bruce Lee as Kato. I thought one day I'm gonna learn karate and kick in their faces. At that point, I started training in the martial arts, fighting with no forward vision. I stuck with it, and 50 years later, I'm a 6th degree black belt. This is a 5-board step across side kick. Laid the foundation for me to believe, no matter what the situation, I can fight my way through. I applied it to the martial arts, but my real goal was with the cards. So I practiced my life away, 14 to 18 hours a day for 26 years. I just want to be known as the best card mechanic out there. If you want to play me, you play it at your own risk. This is one of the moves I use at the card table more than anything else. It's called a second deal. It goes back centuries. We have the card on top, the lovely Queen of Diamonds. You want that card, so what you'll do is you'll deal cards below the top card. Watch so you can see exactly what's going on. The card on top sits there, but you have to deal it as smoothly as if you're dealing from the top. And then in a game, you're actually sailing the cards to the other players. It almost has to melt out of the deck. And I practice it in super slow motion till every exacting element of the muscle memory is firmly embedded in my brain.
So I just funnel all of my nervous energies into practicing moves with the cards.
For 50 years, I've made my living traveling the world, demonstrating how many ways I can take your money at the card table. I use my fingers to do the walking and talking through the deck. And my fingers can feel things down to micros, down to calipers. Here's the odd thing. Because I have a very rare condition called Charles-Bonnet syndrome, I see my subconscious in external space. I do not see black. Everything that's in my mind, I see projected in front of me like it's on a giant movie screen. I'm constantly writing in the air. I want to take down a note, I can write it in the air, and I will see it floating in the air, just like you'll see it on a computer screen. And I have what's called an eidetic memory. I'll take a picture of it, I'll never forget it. You see visually, but I see everything, but my mind creates the vision. I basically live in virtual reality. I see a 360-degree kaleidoscope of everything ever entered my brain. And I've adapted my fingers where I now have 10 abilities to see what I'm doing rather than the 2 the standard card mechanic uses. I'm gonna give the deck another shuffle. This time I'm gonna try to find a winning card right out of the middle of the deck. See if I can do this for you. Right out of the middle of the deck. I'll take one right about there. Did we get an ace? Watch again, watch again. I'm gonna try to get one right out of the middle of the deck. This time I'm gonna try a double. And we want another one right. See if we can get one out of the middle of the deck. Watch very closely. Watch very closely. Fourth ace.
That was amazing. But how do you do that?
There's a whole pile of answers to that question. There are many artifices that I'm able to employ at the card table. Palming cards out, holding cards out, switching cards in play, shuffling cards exactly where you want them to go. The moves I created with the cards are so difficult and so exclusive. When I die, they're likely gonna die with me. From 1979 to 84, I performed 2,190 days in a row on a riverboat. I was an entertainer first, but people would want to challenge me. One particular night, not only my card skills, but my fighting skills came into play. My job was to entertain people with how many ways I could take their money. I just finished my shift. And there's this guy going, "Come here."
Come here. Come here.
And he kept yelling, I kept ignoring the guy. And finally, I went up to him, I said, "How can I help you, sir?"
When I play in casinos, I never lose.
"Okay." I said, "Sir, you don't want to play cards with me. The conditions I can control a game under are, you can shuffle and cut the deck. You can choose how many players you want. You can tell me which player you want to have win, and as sure as you're sitting there, I can make it happen." And he said,
Just sit down.
"All right." So I sat down. I'll call the guy Mr. Jerk. His attitude was so rude and abrasive. I was reminded of those kids and used to beat me up. I thought to myself, this is going to be fun.
What do you want to play?
7-card stud.
Poker with 7 cards? I thought, this is my favorite game to control. I said, "Who wins?" He says, "I do, of course." And I said, "Where are you sitting?" He says, "Right here, number 1." I said, "Okay." Because of the loss of sight, my haptic and tactile neural network, that's the part of the brain that relates to touch, has bullied its way into my visual network. Those parts of the brain have now merged together, and which has enhanced my touch. I slowly start dealing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. He slapped my hand down. He says,
Hold it.
"We're not doing this for nothing." And he made us each pull out a $100 bill and throw it on the table. So now we had skin in the game. And I said, "All right, whatever." So I matched the money, being able to identify the card, being able to put the card where I want, being able to take the card from where I want and have it delivered to where I want. This is the ultimate ability to control the outcome of a card game. I dealt him an ace-high straight. He was so excited. He jumped from the table, grabbed the money, stuffed it in his pocket and says,
I told you I always win.
I said, "Do you think this was just a coincidence?" He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Do you have more hundreds?" He said, "I have a fistful of them." I gathered the cards together. I shuffled, I let him shuffle, and we just started playing. Hand after hand. Full house. Take the money, put it in my pocket. Ace high straight, take the money. 4 of a kind, take the money. Hand after hand after hand. He kept wanting to up the stakes, get his money back. Finally, after about, 10 or 12 rounds, a nice stack of big bills, I thought maybe he learned his lesson. I went upstairs to have my prime rib and lobster. I thought that was the end of my night. It was not. And one of the servers, her name was Kim, she said, Richard, there's a guy in the back that wants to talk to you. So I went back, same guy, Mr. Jerk. He goes, we're gonna play some more. And this time I'm gonna do all the shuffling, and we're gonna make sure every card comes off the top.
And this time we're gonna raise the stakes.
All right, I'm playing with his money now, I don't care. I have a big wad of his $100 bills. And I thought to myself, you're not gonna like how this is gonna turn out. So we sat down, we went 4 more rounds, full house, 4 of a kind. Just whipping them hand after hand. Finally, I took his money and I said,
Thank you for a very entertaining night.
and I run into Kim, the server, and she says, that guy wanted to know who you were. And I told him he was an idiot to have challenged you. And I also told him, you just got beat by a blind guy. How'd that make you feel? I thought, well, that was pretty funny. So now I'm leaving. At that time, it's late at night. There was a creepy feeling. In the martial arts, we call it situational awareness. I could sense something was going on. I just had an uneasiness. I was just getting ready to turn around. All of a sudden, this guy runs up.
Give me my money! I want it back!
And he hisses in my ear.
I'll kill you.
I instantly identified his voice as Mr. Jerk.
I want my money!
This is where I have an advantage over others. They have to see what they're doing. I don't. He wants his money back, and he wants to get me because now he's really ticked. Not a smart thing to do when somebody's training in the martial arts. My karate training kicked in. I instantly smashed my head back. I heard his nose crunch. At that same instant, I dropped down, broke his grip. From that moment on, he was mine. I slammed my right fist into his groin. At that same moment, I just drilled the heel into his foot. Now he's screaming and cursing at me. He says, I'm gonna kill you. He starts running in, and I can tell he was gonna try to hit me with his right. And I caught him with a side kick in his lower ribs, which is extremely painful. And it basically folded him up, to drop him to the ground. It stifled his desire to want to do anything. And at that point, the pain was so intense that he wandered away, whining and sniveling. And I thought, I wonder if he was one of those jerks that beat me up as a kid. Maybe I got back at one of those jerks. Don't mess with a blind martial artist, card mechanic, or you may be a big loser.